Hello fellow followers, some boys being attacked by bears for calling a prophet Baldy, a man being taken up to heaven by a chariot of fire, and a miraculous floating axe head. It's time for the Book of Two Kings! Book of Two Kings starts exactly where One King's finished because there used to be one book. It's essentially the story of all the kings of Israel and Judah until Israel is destroyed by the Assyrians, and Judah, which is later called Israel just to confuse you, until Judah is sent into exile by the Babylonians. For each king, the writer gives his verdict as to whether or not they were a bad king or a good king, and it essentially boils down to this. I love Baal. I love the Lord. All the kings of Israel are bad, and most of the kings of Judah are, with the odd exceptions such as Hezekiah. The other main characters are the prophets, such as Elijah, which we get the very end of the story of, and his successor Elisha. Prophets form a huge contrast to the kings because they are faithful. That's pretty much it. Bye. Just kidding, that was a bit quick. Why don't we go through some of the stories that are in there instead? In chapter 2, Elijah knows he's coming towards the end of his time, so he heads across the river Jordan into the wilderness. His servant Elisha is absolutely determined to stay with him. They go to the river Jordan, Elijah smashes it with his cloak and the water parts. He asks Elisha what he wants, and Elisha says he wants a double portion of his spirit. Elijah says that if he sees him go, then he'll get it. Suddenly, a chariot of fire. No, not like that. That's better. A chariot of fire comes and takes Elijah away. Elijah's cloak is left, so Elisha picks it up, goes back to the river Jordan, smacks the river, and the water parts again. He's supposed to show that he's taken on Elijah's role. Or how about this story? There's this powerful army commander, Nahum, who lives in Aram, one of the big powerful nations nearby. But he has leprosy. Now, one of his servants is a little girl who's been taken captive from Israel, and she says to him that if he goes to speak to one of the prophets in Israel, then he'll be healed. So he goes, but when he gets there, despite the fact he's one of the most powerful men around, Elisha won't even come out the house to see him. Instead, he sends one of his servants out and tells him, go and dip yourself in the river Jordan 7 times and you'll be healed. Naaman is furious and storms off, but one of his servants convinces him to try it. So he goes and dips himself in the river Jordan 7 times and he's healed. Or to quote the passage, his flesh was restored and became clean like that of a young boy. Sorry, I always find that sentence funny for some reason. Anyway, Naaman is converted and he promises to only serve the Lord from now on. But he goes to Elisha, who's now come out the house, and explains that when he gets home, his master, the king, will expect him to accompany him into the temple of Rimmon and bow down to that god. And he says to Elisha, is that okay? Now, I think a lot of Christians would expect Elisha to say, no, turn or burn, baby. God will not put up with idol. But what Elisha actually says is, go in peace. Go in peace. It's like Elisha says, I know it's hard sometimes, and that doing the right thing in this world, it can be tricky. Just go in peace. That'll do for now. God bless, fellow followers. It essentially tells the story of all the kings that ruled over Israel and Judah. It essentially tells the story of all the kings that ruled over Israel until Israel It's essentially the story of all the kings of Israel and Judah until Israel are attacked by the Assyrians and destroyed, and Judah, which is later called Israel, just to confuse you, is... It's essentially the story of all the kings of Israel and Judah until... It's essentially the story of all the kings of Israel until it is destroyed by a... It is essentially the story of all the kings of Israel... It's essentially the story of all the kings of Israel and Judah until Israel are destroyed by the...